There is a massive class action lawsuit against BMW for a defective part that affects all brand new M cars. Every single G series M car made from 2021 and up has this defective part. And if you've owned any BMW made in the past 10 years, you likely also have suffered from this. And that is the defective brake pads. Now, if I take my clean hand right here and wipe it on any part of my wheels, you can see that if I wipe it right here, my finger is completely black. But that's not even the worst of it, because on the G series M cars like my G80, these cars have insanely loud brake squeal. And in case you don't own one of these, this is what it sounds like. Now, although that sounds horrible, today what's in this box is going to completely fix that issue. These are ceramic brake pads made by a company called Speed by Design, and they're a company that manufacture brakes and other parts for the Nissan GTR. And since the G80 is pretty much a German GTR, with how heavy it is, with how easy it is to modify, and with how much people actually modify this thing to go fast and go on track, I think these brake pads that are brand new and just hit the market are going to be exactly what we need to get rid of the brake dust issue, get rid of the horrible loud brake squeal issue, and even have better biting brakes than the OEM pads. Now, some people refuse to believe that these brake pads are actually defective, but the fact of the matter is that there is a class action lawsuit against BMW because of the brake pads. They are actively in the process of getting sued as we speak right now because of this issue. And while the brake squeal issue is a kind of a new thing that has really affected the G series M cars, the brake dust issue isn't new and has been an issue for over the past 10 years. And the biggest issue is that these brakes aren't carbon ceramic. These are just these standard steel brakes. So they shouldn't squeal that loud because they aren't carbon ceramic, and they definitely should not be giving off as much brake dust as they do, making these beautiful, I believe they're 826 Ms, look brown instead of the gray that they're actually supposed to be. But today we are going to fix this issue with the best aftermarket brake solution. This video is not sponsored by any means, but I genuinely think that these are probably the best brake pads you can get for your G80. And the reason is because this company makes parts for GTR. So since the GTR is so close to exactly what this car is, I believe this is going to be the best aftermarket solution for your G series BMW M car. So today I'm going to show you how to install them, both the front and the rear, in just one video, the easiest method to install your brake pad. So let's unbox and install the best brake pad solution for the G80 M3 or any G series BMW M car. This is the box, these are the rears, and these are the fronts. This is a massive difference just from what they look like from the front to the rear. And I think the best part about these is that they're not too pricey. I actually bought EBC red brakes for over $400 for this car, but legit the same day that they got delivered was the same day that these brake pads released. So I decided to either return or sell those because they were over $400, whereas the Speed by Design ones are sitting at just at $400. Other brands that people recommend are like EBCs or iSweep pads, specifically the iSweep 500s, but those are something like over $500 for a whole set. So I think for $400 this set is just perfect. Let's get going with the install. I heard the rears are a lot harder than the fronts are because you have the electronic parking brake in the rear, so let's start off with the back and then work our way to the front. Since we're starting with the rear pads, you need to disengage the rear parking brake. Now I see a lot of people use the Beamer Link app. That's not Beamer Code, that's Beamer Link. Now to my knowledge and for what I saw in forums, the best way to do this is to have the Beamer Link app. That's this one right here, not Beamer Code, which is this one. You need Beamer Link. We're going to open that up, and we're also going to disconnect our car from our mobile device to make sure that this doesn't connect. There we go, the box is in check. So we're going to select the MHD eNet adapter on Beamer Link, connect to your adapter, go back to Beamer Link. There we go, it's starting to load up. We're going to click parking brake, activate service mode. There we go, now it says service mode activated. You might have been able to hear that in the camera, except for the fact there's a helicopter flying by right now. But using Beamer Link, disengage the parking brake, so press it down so that it's not on. Click activate service mode, and you will now get service mode activated. Wheel spacer. With the brake disengaged, I want to make sure that everything's going to be super safe. So we're going to put the wheel and tire right into there just in case anything happens. Still completely destroy the car if anything happens, but at least I won't be completely destroyed. You need an open-ended 13 mil and a 13 mil socket. Also, a tool like this really helps, a Milwaukee drill. I'll leave this link down below. Either one of these or one of these, but it's going to be a 13 mil like everything else on this car. Okay, so an up-close look. This is the caliper. You need a paint can or something large like that to kind of rest the caliper on while you're servicing it. This is the brake caliper housing. It doesn't come off of the car. The problem is with the back is one, the piston, and two, this part kind of right here kind of rotates. This is a 17 mil. You need an open-ended 17 mil socket. I might have actually said 13 mil before. The bolt itself, which is somewhere lying around here, this is a 13 mil. So you put the 13 mil socket on here, and then there's this 17 mil. So you need to hold this 17 mil while you unscrew this 13 mil. OEM brake pads are out, and we're gonna put in the Speed by Design brake pads for the rear. It's also very important that you don't put them in backwards. This is the way that it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be fully seated on the rotor. This one in the back is put in incorrectly, so we're going to want to take this out and flip it over, and once we put it in, then it should perfectly match up just like the front one. So now you see everything's perfectly in line. You can see it's flush with the brake rotor on the left side. Just make sure that these little notches are in here correctly. Make sure that it's seated fully. And I'll show you just now what I'm talking about when I say you need to hold this top piece. This was kind of a lot easier than I thought it was gonna be. I was kind of able to just manhandle the brake caliper back on, but I'm gonna show you exactly how to get off the bolts. But as you can see, every time you move this bolt, this part kind of moves. So you have 17 mil to clamp onto there and hold it while you unscrew and rescrew this bolt back here. I recommend unscrewing the bottom one just a little bit and then doing the top and then finally doing the bottom. Because if you fully unscrew the bottom first, the whole thing will kind of collapse on itself with the weight, and then the top one won't come out properly. So do a little bit of the bottom, the full top, and then do the rest of the bottom, and then take the entire caliper part off, put it on top of your paint can, place your pads, and then rescrew everything. I was able to force the brake caliper back on, and the piston wasn't that hard. So this one should be good to go. Let's do the other side. So the right side actually has the brake pad wear sensor, which is connected to the brake pad. You can see right there, that little brake pad wear sensor goes right in there. You just want to unhook it from the two spots that it hooks on, right here and right here on the caliper. And this might be a good opportunity to just replace that, get the other caliper out of there. But you don't necessarily have to, but it might be a good opportunity to go ahead and change that. Let's knock out the right side, and yep, pretty simple. Alrighty, the rear brakes are done. I would highly recommend replacing the brake pad wear sensor, because the last time with my M340, I didn't replace it when I did my brakes, and I want to say like a month or two later, the brake pad sensor kind of threw a code, and I had that ungodly orange wrench symbol on my dashboard for pretty much the entire time until I replaced it. But now that we did the rear brakes, we're going to reactivate the parking brake. But yeah, same thing, diagnostic mode, beamer link. Struggles of having a lowered car, having to put your car on 4 pieces of wood. So hopefully this holds. But it's the only way I can get this like heavy duty jack underneath the front. But we're gonna do these massive, like 10-25 pound weighing front brake pads. So whoever told me that the front is easier completely lied to me, because unlike a regular 3 Series, this brake caliper has like a bridge here. You have to actually take off this entire brake pad, and you have to have a little paint can or something to hold it that's big enough. So in a nutshell, what you do is that there are 2 little pins, 1 and 2, and these are keeping the brake pad in position. You knock these out using a little pick. I have a pick like this. You just need something skinny enough to hit it right there. Go like this, hit it with a hammer, and those 2 pins will pop out the back. Once you do that, there's just 2 14 mil bolts, 1 on the top, 1 on the bottom right behind here. You can see it run right there, and 2 right there. After that, you can pretty much just take your right hand and hit the side of the caliper, and the entire thing should pretty much come right off. And you pretty much just slide the pads out from the top and right back in. The hard part is that there's nothing keeping the caliper in place. But just replace the caliper, put it back on, screw the bolts, and after that, just pop this pin right back from the back. If you have some kind of flathead screwdriver like this, you can take it and kind of wedge it right in there and push upwards so that the actual pad comes out, and you can align this pin. 5 sets of gloves later, and my camera is completely covered in brake dust. Let's show you how to do the front brake pads. It's very straightforward. It's just a little bit hard. Have something to support and hold up this massive brake pad. Both front brake pads, just the pads, not the caliper, weighs like 25 pounds, I want to say, or at least 20 pounds. Also make sure that you get a flathead or something and take off the brake line back here. There we freaking go. This side specifically is the one that has been squeaking the loudest and the most. It's the first one to squeak whenever I hit the brakes. You see all that like dirty stuff on the metallic flake? That's what makes these brake pads squeak so much. That's what makes them defective. This one's like even worse. You see this one's almost looks silver on camera, but it's those brown stuff within the silver that is what's making it squeal so loud. All right, so a little trick that I found is that if you take the back of your ratchet and you kind of just hit little lightly the pistons, they will actually go in and compress. Just very lightly, not too hard, but that should make this job a whole lot freaking easier. Perfect. So if you're doing the front brake pads, take the back of this thing and just hit those little pistons a little bit, and they should go in ever so slightly to make this thing a lot easier to slide back onto the rotor. Put on the 14 mils, tighten them up. Now to put back in the pins, like I said, take something like a flathead screwdriver. I think this is like for paint or something. Wedge it right between the caliper and the top of the brake pad. You see how it kind of like moves the brake pad back, right? Right like that. There you go. That's what you're going to want to do in order to get the pin back in. Also remember to put back in the brake pad wear sensor. It can kind of just clip on just by shoving it down on the bottom right here. All right, we're all done. Now the very last thing, remember always to put your brake line grommet back where it belongs. You do not want that snagging. You do not want that braking, because if that thing breaks, you don't got any brakes. All right, good morning, guys. So the other day, I actually went out to break in these brake pads. A little cold start for you guys. Went to break in these brake pads, and it's very important to break in your brake pads because you want even wear on both the left and the right side, and the front and the rear. Before I broke in the pads, every time I was hitting the brakes pretty hard on the highway, the car was kind of pulling to the right side. That is typically a sign of either uneven brake wear or some kind of air in the brake system. But after I broke them in, everything was completely perfect. I actually went to show you guys that process, but these things actually stopped so hard that I got a little motion sickness when I was doing the break-in. I'm not gonna lie, it is a lot of starting and stopping, so if you do get motion sickness, just be prepared for that. But driving around for even just the past 2 days, the brake squeal is completely gone. I'm so freaking happy about it. And I'm not gonna lie, it's weird because my brain kind of misses it. Like, my brain is used to the car squealing insanely loud every time I brake. So it's just kind of weird to not hear anything when you hit the brake really hard. So I'm so happy that the brake squeal is completely gone. I don't have to deal with that loud, annoying 1998 Toyota Camry sounding brake. Yeah, we're gonna head over to the car wash, gonna wash the wheels, gonna wash the car, and we're gonna see. I'm gonna try to drive a good amount to show you guys just how much brake dust these pads give off. Because so far so good, there's no brake squeal anymore, and it doesn't seem like these pads give off a whole lot of brake dust. Driving about 50 miles or so since I cleaned the wheels, and also driving for the past 3 days on these brake pads, I can definitely confidently say that they've completely eliminated my brake dust issue as well as my brake squeal issue. Brake squeal was definitely a lot more annoying than the brake dust issue. I could have waited a little bit more until I actually got like an aftermarket set of wheels to do the brake pads if it was just the brake dust issue, but the brake squeal was the most annoying part, and I'm happy to say that these brake pads completely eliminated that. You can see in the sun that my wheels actually kind of look gray now. They're supposed to be a gunmetal gray. The gray came on the Yare edition, but every single time I would drive anything longer than like 20 minutes, these wheels just started to look brown. You can still see in the inside of the barrel kind of, because I didn't clean the inside at all. I only really cleaned the face of the wheel and the spokes, and I only cleaned it with like detail spray and a microfiber. But after 50 miles, the only brake dust that's on this wheel is the one that's stuck on there from before. I mean, look at the rotor and like the center of the wheel. Like, it's all brown where it's supposed to be like silver. I still really have to do a good deep clean on this like entire wheel section because of how nasty and dirty that brake dust is. But you can see in the sunlight my wheels finally look gray, and they're finally shining how they're supposed to be. And in the back, it's an even better story because the front brake pads are a lot bigger. And in the rear, it just looks a little bit cleaner because it just wasn't as dirty in the first place. So there's pretty much no squeal and no brake dust, but let's be honest, all brake pads that are aftermarket are pretty much going to do that. They're all going to fix the brake dust issue, and they're all going to fix the brake squeal unless you're getting some really high performance track pads, which the Speed by Design pads are really for performance street driving. I think maybe you could do some track with it, although they don't recommend it. I think their stopping power is pretty good to be able to take them on track, but that is the big difference with these pads as opposed to something like EBC or iSweep pads, because those are the other two most popular options for the G Series M cars. I'd say the stopping power and the price really puts it above the rest, because these brakes go for something like only $400, and that's the exact price that you would get EBC Reds for, and iSweep pads are just way more expensive. So I want to say you're looking at like $550 for iSweeps, maybe like $450 for EBCs, depending on if you go with the reds or the yellows, and just $400 flat for the Speed by Design brake pads. So I think that's what really makes these brake pads the best ones for the G80 M3. And speaking about that, let's talk about the stopping power, because usually when you get a ceramic pad, the stopping power is nowhere near what you would get with an OEM pad, especially something like the OEM Brembos in this car, but I'm happy to report that the stopping power is 1000% still there, if not even slightly better than the OEM pads were. Ceramic pads, since they give off less dust, they just don't typically bite as well most of the time, but I really don't feel much of a difference with these Speed by Design pads, and like I said, if not, it is slightly better than OEM. It's honestly hard to tell without driving both brake pads back to back. So even though you have a ceramic pad with less brake dust, you are still getting that good bite that a BMW M compound brake pad would have. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing and stay tuned for all the G80 content that I have coming up for you guys, as well as some other content that I have with friends with their BMWs, such as M340s, A90 Supras, M3s, M4s, and all that. So I'm Ryan from Gears and Gains. Follow me on all my socials down in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have a great day.